Okay, today we're working on notes for system, number 4 system notes, graphing systems of inequality. So if you remember, inequalities are the greater than, less than. And regardless if it says inequality or if it's equal, before we graph, we have to be in y equals that mx plus b. So I'm just going to put this right here, equals mx plus b. That's what we have to be to graph. But sometimes when you have inequalities, not sometimes, when you have inequalities, instead of the equals, you're going to have your greater than, less than, or equal to symbol right there. Okay, so if you have this, this, or this, and your y is over on this side, that means less than, and you're going to shade down. So I'm going to say equals less than. So we're going to look at kind of where that that opens up. And notice that the alligator mouth is not opening up towards the y, it's opening up away from the y. That's what makes it the less than. If you have something that looks like this, so let's start with our y first, and then you have this, or this, or this, that's going to be greater than. And you're going to shade up. Finally, if you have this or this, you're going to use a dashed line. But if you have this, 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 and this, meaning the equal to, you're going to use a solid line. Okay, so let's look at that first one. We're going to do just like what we have been doing. So these are all in y equals, which is great. We can just go right to graphing them. So here's my positive 1. So I'm going to look right on this, and I'm going to put my first point on positive 1. And then I'm going to look at my slope. My slope is -1. You don't see a number in front of it. That means it's a 1. And because the negative's there, it's going to be a -1 over 1. So this one, I'm going to go down 1 and to the right 1. So I'm just going to keep doing that until I get all the way through. And if I can't go down and to the right, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go up and to the left. So I just changed the spot where I had my negative on. Okay, so now we have to look at this piece right here. I'm going to highlight it a different color. Let me just highlight it this color right here. I'm going to look at that piece. Okay, when I look at that, I have to decide, am I going to use a dashed or a solid line? And because you don't have that solid line underneath, that doesn't have the equal to part, so we're just going to dash that one. So I'm going to go ahead and dash those. Okay, and I'm looking at the alligator mouth, and the alligator mouth is not eating the y, it's opening on the other side. So this one means it's less than. So I'm going to try to find 3 points within my graph, and I'm just going to shade all of that less than. So when I do that, I start by going across. I'm going to make my point a little bit bigger. Probably this one. I'm going to start by going down that line, and then I'm just going to outline the graph, and then just shade everything that's in there. Okay, so that means that everything under that line is a solution to your graph. Now we have to go and graph, so I'm going to also highlight this one. So that was this one right here. That's what that one says. Now we're going to go ahead and graph that other one, where this other one says y equals, or y is less than or equal to 2x plus 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight where I'm going to start. I'm going to start at plus 3 on this line right here. So my first point goes on a positive 3. And then from there, this is my slope. So my m is 2 over 1. So I'm going to go up 2 to the right 1. And if I can't go up to the right 1, I'm going to go down 2 and to the left 1. Okay, now I'm going to look at that inequality symbol. So when I'm looking at that inequality symbol, you do have this, but you also have this. So because you have that solid line, I'm going to make a solid line right through there. I'm going to connect those. Okay, and again, the inequality symbol is not facing towards that y, so that means it's a less than. So I'm going to get a different color. And you can use colored pencils for this. The reason I recommend colored pencils is those are easier to erase. If you use a highlighter and you make a mistake, those are hard to erase. So I would recommend a colored pencil. But the first thing you want to do is on that line you just made is highlight that whole line and then just like outline from there the graph until it meets back up again. And then just fill in. Okay, so really what I'm looking at, my solution to these lines, whoops, are between is this little triangle area right here. Okay, kind of where it turned purple, where that blue and red meet and it turned a little bit purple color, that's going to be our solution. So anywhere in there, we could choose a point and it would satisfy that y is less than or y is less than equal to. Okay, so let's go to number 2. Again, they're already set up for us, so that makes it easy. So I'm going to start with my positive 1. So my first point goes on positive 1. Oh, that's negative 1. And then what's in front of my x is my slope. When I look at that, there's no number in front of it, so that means that my slope is going to be a 1 over a 1. No number in front of the x means it's a 1, and we always put it over 1 if there's no number under it. So I'm going to go up 1 over 1. If I can't go up 1 and to the right 1 anymore, I'm going to do the exact opposite. It would be down and to the left. Okay, now I'm going to look at my inequality symbol. That one is eating the y, but before we talk about eating the y, it doesn't have the line underneath, so I'm just going to dash kind of every other one of those points. Okay, and y, because it's eating it, it's going to be greater than, so now I'm going to pull up, so I know I'm going to shade everything on that side of the line. So the first thing I'm going to do is find my highlighter. I'm going to highlight or use your colored pencils that, then do the outside edge of that graph until it meets again, and then you're just going to fill in. Okay, now we get to graph our other one. So I'm going to start at this -3 on this line. So my first point goes on -3. And then what's in front of my x is my slope. So again, there's no number. So again, it's going to be 1 over 1. Okay, so from there, I'm going to go up 1 over 1. But before I go up 1 over 1, let's just look at these two slopes. Anytime your slopes are exactly the same, so I have 1 over 1 and I have 1 over 1, that means they're going to be parallel lines. Let's just see if that holds true. Will this become a parallel line if I go up 1 to the right 1? And if I can't go up and to the right, I'm going to do the exact opposite, down and to the left. Okay, again, it's going to be a dashed line because I only have this. I don't have the equals to, so I'm going to dash these lines. Okay, and it says y is, it's not eating the y, so it's going to be less than. So now I'm going to take my highlighter. I'm going to highlight that spot and the graph too, and then just come back and fill in. Okay, so notice before on graph number 1, they overlapped. So we had a solution where those overlapped. In this case, when you have that white piece in the center and your blue and your red don't ever meet, these are parallel lines. So this is going to be no solution. Not always when you have parallel lines will you have no solution. If those were opposites, where the red line was less than and the blue line was greater than, they would have met in that middle section. So then there would be a solution, but in this case, it's going to be a no solution. Okay, we're going to skip number 3 and we're going to move on to number 4. Okay, so let's look at number 4 here. I'm going to start at this +3. It's already in y equals, so I'm good to start at +3. So my first point goes on a +3. And then this is my slope. It's giving me both of them, both my numerator and my denominator. So I'm going to say 2 over 3. So I'm going to go up 2 over 3. Up 2 over 3. If I can't go up and over, I'm going to go down 2 and to the left 3. Okay, I can't go down and over. So I'm looking at, I have greater than, and I have equal to. So this one means it's going to have a solid line like this. Okay, and now I'm looking, when I look to see where it's opening up towards that Y. So the alligator's eating the Y, so that means it's greater. So I'm going to take my colored pencil. First, I color on my highlighted section, or my line. So I'm going to color across that line, go and fill in until you meet back up again, and then you just fill in that whole section with your colored pencil. And again, use colored pencils, so if you have to erase, you can. Okay, and this next one, I'm going to start with a -3. So my first point goes on a -3. And then from there, this one's kind of tricky, so let's talk about this one. You have a negative in front of both of your 4 and your 3. Really, you only have one negative. So that negative has to go with your 4, or it has to go with your 3. So this time, I'm going to put it on the top. I'm going to say -4 over a +3. Or I'm going to say positive, sorry, I'm giving me the wrong number there, +4 over a -3. So I'm just, because I only have one negative in front of that -4/3, only one of my numbers can be negative. So I'm going to start with that, go down 4 into the right 3. Okay, and now because I can't go down 4 into the right 3, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to go up 4 to the left 3. Okay, even so on our slides before, our homework that we did before, if we had a point that was already a point, we would find our pair and make a coordinate point out of that. We can't make a point out of that one because this is greater than, this is inequalities where you have your greater than, less than. So I'm just going to note that there's a point there, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go up 4 over 3. Okay, can't go up and over. This one only has a greater than symbol. So now I'm just going to dash this one. And because these are kind of far apart, I can't go kind of dash the two lines. I'm just going to dash them like this. Okay, so I'm looking at this one. My inequality symbol is eating my Y, so that's going to be greater than. So I'm going to find 3 points, and I'm just going to pull up. So I'm going to go up, up, up. Now I know that whole side of the line has to be colored in. Okay, so I'm going to start by highlighting that line first, and then I just follow the graph all the way until it meets. And then everything in there gets colored. So your solution is where the blue and the red meets. When I look at this, the solution to this graph is right here and right there. Okay, in that little purple section. So we don't have a coordinate point or anything. We just leave it just like that. That's our solution. Okay, let's move on to the next page. We're going to skip number 5 and number 6, but let's talk about number 7 and number 8. So usually you're seeing it in that y = mx + b, that slope-intercept form. This isn't slope-intercept form, but we can still graph it. This first one says x is greater than 3. Well, on your graph, you have an x-coordinate and you have a y-coordinate. This is my x-coordinate, and this is my y-coordinate. So because this first one says x is greater than 3, on my x-coordinate, I'm going to put a dot. So here is my x-coordinate, and I'm going to put a dot there. That means that this whole line, it doesn't really matter where I go, that whole line is we're going to draw our line. So we have to decide, is it going to be dashed or is it going to be a solid line? It doesn't have the solid line under it, so I know it's going to be dashed. So I'm just going to make this vertical line dashed on there. Okay, and this is the tricky part. Usually we're used to putting our pencil on a dot and then we pull either up or down. But when you have a vertical line or if you have a horizontal line, that's a little bit harder to do. So especially with a vertical line, if x is greater than 3, I have to look at my numbers. So look at your line. Is 2 greater than 3 or is 4 greater than 3? Well, in this case, 4 is greater than 3, so we're going to shade everything on that side of the line. So again, I'm going to color the line first and then just color my graph and then color the rest of it in. Okay, The next one, because we're on y, we're going to use the y coordinate, so the one that goes kind of up and down, not left and right. And I'm going to put my first dot on -2. So my first one goes on -2, and this one's going to be a horizontal line. Okay, it's also going to be just a dash line because I don't have what's under it. So I'm going to dash that horizontal line. So going all the way across, I'm going to dash, dash. Put my arrows on. Okay, and it says y is, well, it's not eating the y, so it's going to be less than. So now I have to think. I'm looking at any numbers that are above that greater than 2 and any numbers that are below that greater than 2, or sorry, less than 2. So is 4 less than 2, or is -5 less than -2? Well, -5 is less than that -2, so I want to, first I'm going to highlight along that, and then I'm just going to highlight the whole thing under it, just like that, and then color in. There we go. So my solution is this little piece, this little corner right here. Okay, let's do another one just like that. So I have my x and I have my y, and because it says x is less than 4, my 4, and it's a positive 4, so I'm going to put a dot on +4. My x's are vertical, so I'm going to go up and down. Put my arrows on. And if I want less than, I'm looking on either side of that line. Is like 1 less than 4, or is 8 less than 4? Well, 1 is less than 4, so I'm going to shade everything that is less than. Okay, now I'm going to do my y. Y is less than or equal to 6. So remember your y, I'm going to find my 6. I'm going to put a dot, whoops, that's still my highlighter. Put a dot on my +6. Okay, it's a solid line, and this one is the vertical or the horizontal line. So I'm going to go horizontally across, and it says y is less than because the alligator is not eating the y, so I'm going to go less than that. So my first line goes across, then I'm just going to follow it all the way on the outside of that graph and then fill in. And it should fill in that whole bottom piece, and this one just has lots of solution available. So when I look at this one, my solution is going to be everything from, that's overlapping, oops, that's the wrong color. So from here to here, that whole piece is my solution. All right, with that, you are done with number 4, system notes, so you can go ahead and work on the assignment for this.